Welcome back. You know, the number of messes that President Trump is still cleaning up from not just Joe Biden, but also Barack Obama, truly knows no bounds. The whole reason the commander-in-chief had to go into Iran in the first place to take out the terror regime's nuclear capabilities is because Tehran was coddled, first by Obama, who you'll remember gave them pallets of cash to beg them, don't have a nuclear program. Then they were coddled some more by Biden. His only threat to Iran amounted to saying, don't. He literally said that. Don't. Please don't obtain nuclear weapons. An impotent request that was ignored repeatedly, of course, by the regime. Then in 2023, Biden lifted the tough sanctions on Iran that President Trump and his team, like KT McFarland, had set up in the first Trump term. The boot came off the throat, and they all of a sudden unleashed their terror proxy, Hamas, to kill more than 1,000 Israelis in the October 7th terror attacks. This president's approach has been just a little bit different than the feckless Biden blindness. I spoke earlier today with KT McFarland. She's a former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor in the White House and author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. Here's our conversation. KT, welcome to The Big Take.
It's great to be with you, and I loved your monologue, and you made all the right points. You know, the reason President Trump is taking this action now is he's concluded what you've concluded, that the Democrats are not going to stop Iran's nuclear program. So take it out now while you can, degrade Iran's capabilities, mitigate the risk, which they've been doing for the last year, if not going back to the first term of President Trump, and then take the action, because Iran is not going to stop. It was pretty clear in the negotiations in the last month or so when the Iranians came in and said, we're not going to dismantle our highly enriched uranium. Under Biden, we have enough now to make 11 bombs. We're not going to negotiate that way.
They said they could make 11. 11 nuclear bombs is what they said. And look, pardon me, what's going on in the Mideast, the big picture. Lebanon is now calling for direct talks with Israel because Hezbollah, the terror group's getting wiped out. They say they want permanent arrangements for security and stability, Lebanon, on their borders with Israel. And I think it's the president who's making historic gains by taking out the terrorist regime, their terror proxies, the dictator in Venezuela, who I mentioned. So what's your sense about this president, you know, beyond just Iran, remaking the world right before our eyes?
You know, he's playing not just three-dimensional chess, he's playing four-dimensional chess. I've been with him in the Situation Room and in the Oval Office, and he thinks ahead with a lot of ramifications that most experts don't do. So what's the first dimension? Okay, stop Iran's nuclear program, stop Iran's war-making capability. What's the second dimension of this chess? Rearrange the chess pieces in the Middle East so you no longer have the constant threat of war. The Abraham Accords were the good first step. The Gaza Peace Accords, the good second step. A new Iran under new leadership, that's going to be the final piece in fixing the Middle East. But then the third dimension of this is to basically rearrange the world's energy sources. Yeah. Remember, now, Venezuela, with the United States' newfound capabilities, and our friends, our close allies, the Gulf Sunni Arabs, we now control well over half of the world's energy supply, either control it or have enormous influence on it. If Iran is added to that mix, if we have a dominant position over Iran's economic and oil development going forward, we're going to control 75% of the world's energy. So what does that mean? That means we own the future. We own the energy. We own the technology for artificial intelligence. And then the fourth dimension, Ed, in case you were keeping track, is China. Who's the big leader in all of this is China. Yeah. They used to get their oil from Venezuela. They got Iranian oil. China's oil and natural gas imports have now been cut dramatically, and that really affects their ability to manufacture, and it affects their ability to go into artificial intelligence and quantum computing as we go ahead in the next year or two.
Well, I love that you're getting to the big picture. You're getting to the golden age of America, energy dominance, dominance in AI that the president's talked about. But he's got a long way to get through these next few weeks. Is this 4 to 5 week timeline realistic? And what about the possibility of American ground troops to basically secure the peace in what comes next, but also to secure those nuclear material? You just said yourself that Iran said they could make 11 nuclear bombs. We have to get that enriched uranium. Will there have to be American ground troops?
No, I don't think there have to be American ground troops. First of all, the president should never, he did not and should never, no American president should rule out capabilities in advance. Why tell your adversary exactly what you're not going to do and what you're willing to do? No, you have to keep all of your options open. But how is this progressing? So when President Trump said it's over, what he means, I think, is that the military part of it, we now got this. So we've taken out the senior tier of leadership of Iran's military and their civilian and the mullahs. We've also taken out their Navy. We've taken out their Air Force. We've taken out their missile manufacturing capability. We've taken out a lot of their missiles. So we are now to the point where we own the skies. An American aircraft can go at will over any target in Iran and destroy it. So when he talks about the military part of it, yeah, we've got this. We've figured out how to do it. We have a lot more targets we can get to. But what's the part that's going to happen next? And this is the hard part is, okay, so if the mullahs are gone, that first tier is gone, who's in the second tier?
Yeah.
Who are we going to Iran, like we got in Venezuela? We got the vice president of Venezuela, who 2 weeks before was our fiercest enemy. And then 2 weeks after Maduro, she's our best friend.
Got it.
I understand that we are talking to people in the second tier to try to figure out who can take over the running of this country.
Well, I'm about to talk to Senator Rand Paul, and I bet one of his questions is going to be about this mission, because he's largely opposed it, is what comes next, though, KT? I mean, you know the lessons of Afghanistan, of Iraq. What does come next?
Okay.
If we keep this 4 or 5 week timeline on the bombing campaign, but how do we not get dragged into a quagmire?
All right, if you listen carefully to what President Trump has said in the last couple of days, he said things like, we encourage the military in Iran to lay down their arms. We will grant them amnesty. It's a pretty startling statement. You're saying to the military guys, stop fighting. We'll guarantee your amnesty. If you keep fighting, we'll kill you. So that's number one. Number two, he said, in fact, in the last 2 days, he said, we would like to work with the regime. We would like to work with people in the regime to get the governance going. And he's also said we want to have a leader that we can work with. And I think Venezuela is the gold standard. We were never going to work with those senior leaders, but now we are. So, again, I think we're having behind-the-scenes negotiations that we're not telling anybody about with other leaders in the regime, with opposition leaders in Iran, so that they can run their own country, that we don't have to do a George W. Bush and have an occupying military.
Okay.
Iran can be a country, but we have to find the leaders with them.
All right. We're all intently focused on what comes next there. KT McFarland, we appreciate your insights. Hope people check out the book as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.